Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Rise to Shine podcast. I am beyond excited to dive into this next part of our journey together. Last time we explored the science behind why we resist change. That was the first part of this series. And then I realized we have to make a part two because otherwise our episode would have gone on forever. And I want these to be in bite sizes for you. And I am so excited because what we did is we broke down how our nervous system and brain are literally wired to keep us in our comfort zones, even when we're desperate to grow. We have this resistance. And let me tell you, I have gotten so much feedback from you as the audience about that episode. It is obviously resonating with a lot of you women. And remember, friends, I'm always listening. So when I read your comments on my social media posts and listen to the questions that you're asking in the workshops or as my clients, here's a little secret. This is how I develop so many of these episodes. This is how I come up with the ideas because I want these topics to be something that are of value to you, that you are wanting, that you are desiring, because it really is about serving you. So today, what we're going to do is we are going to flip the script and we're going to dive into the strategies to overcome that resistance. That's what I promised you from the last time. We talked about all of the reasons why we do this. Now we're going to talk about how we can flip this script. But I want to start with something that I heard the other day from Jen Gottlieb. I'm not sure if you know her, but she's a very powerful speaker and someone I just adore. And she introduced this HOPE acronym. Now, I love acronyms. It's probably just because it's the teacher in me. But she said that HOPE stands for helping one person every day. And I loved that. I knew immediately that this was something that I needed to include in today's episode because it's really about the deeper connection we create that's when we lift up others. So, throughout today's episode, I want you to really hold on to that idea that hope is at the core of what I do and why I'm here to help level you up, to help you find your spark and be that person for someone else too. So, in this episode, we're going to get a ton of valuable. There's going to be, of course, actionable steps and tools to rewire your brain, calm the nervous system, and move forward with lasting change. So, we're going to get into it. If you want to grab that pen and paper, great. Grab your journal. Again, maybe you're folding laundry, doing dinner, or just getting comfy on your ride to work or dropping off the kiddos. So, just to recap from last week's episode, our last episode, we really uncovered the real reasons why we sometimes feel like we are fighting ourselves when we're trying to grow. It's not just about willpower, habits, or discipline. Do those have something to do with it? Yes, of course. But it's not just about that. It goes so much deeper into our biology, particularly in our nervous system and brain, which are hardwired to resist change as a survival mechanism. So, today, now that we understand the why behind the resistance, let's explore the how to work with our brains and nervous systems for lasting transformation. And before we dive into the strategies for change, I want to emphasize that self awareness is truly the first step. It really is the first step in every single thing that we do. Without it, we can't begin to identify which tools or strategies to apply in our lives. Self awareness, I want you to think of it like it's a shining light on the areas where we feel stuck, allowing us to actually see our patterns, to notice our habits, and notice our thoughts for what they are. So that self awareness becomes the shining light on that if we allow it to. And I promise if you tap into that self awareness, it is going to be so helpful on this journey because it gives us the power to notice when resistance is creeping in and why. Because it's going to, and it's only going to be then that we can really decide how we want to move forward. So, my good friend and expert in this space, whom I mentioned last week, Elizabeth Scarcella, she shared this very simple but powerful tool for those moments when negative thoughts arise or when you start talking yourself out of something. I sat with her and I was taking all of these notes as we were talking about this topic. And she said, use the words cancel, cancel. She said, use them gently yet firmly and say this to yourself. It's not harsh or forceful. It's really more of like this very kind but clear interruption of this negative cycle. That's how I interpreted it. By saying cancel, cancel, you take that negative thought and you start to neutralize it. It's no longer this hard no, but instead it becomes a maybe. I loved when she said that because she said, it's not even that you're going to get a clear yes, like, okay, let's do it. Just because I said cancel, cancel, we're going to move forward. No, it just neutralizes things and it removes that hard no and helps it to become a maybe. And we can work with a maybe much easier than a hard no. I loved this. It really is this gentle way to begin rewiring our brain, creating space for new possibilities and actions to emerge. It's all about reclaiming control over those thoughts and steering yourself back toward positive, intentional change. I want you to keep that word close to yourself, and that's the word intentional. Because I'll tell you that I have started doing this. And when I feel myself resisting something, I start to say, cancel, cancel, Noel. Or I'll even laugh at myself and go, cancel, cancel, Noel. It just disrupts my thought. And honestly, it kind of comes up for me a lot when it comes to working on something I'm excited about. And then when I know I have to stop doing what I'm doing to do something else that's on my calendar. So for instance, I will just gonna be completely transparent because that's what we do around here. Um, I have to put in my calendar to go exercise because if I don't, and I will tell you, there are many seasons in my life that I just kind of forget to put that in my calendar. And when I do, I promise you, I will come up with every other excuse because it's not the natural thing that I want to do. So I'll come up with every excuse. I'll be busy working. I'll be in my flow. I'll be doing other things. I can find all the other things to do. But when I see it in my calendar and I make a date with myself, I want to honor those things. And so the cancel thing comes in when I'm sitting here working and I'm in a flow where I'm doing something that I really enjoy. And all of a sudden I look at my calendar and I go, oh man, I have class in an hour. but man, I'm so busy and I'm enjoying this. I'm in a flow. And oh my gosh, if I don't do this, blah, 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 it all goes in the brain. And I'm like sitting here talking myself out of it. I'm resisting, I'm rebelling. And then I have to tell myself, cancel, cancel. And I'm telling you, it works. If this is resonating with anybody, I hope that it is. Try it. Try it. I want to encourage you to try it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some other powerful strategies that I've been researching and learning and trying, and all of them make a huge difference. But don't forget the cancel, cancel. That's like that first step. Self awareness first. Then, when you start to resist, when you start to rebel against yourself, cancel, cancel, neutralize that thought. And then we're going to start to talk about other strategies that we can move into. So let's kick things off a little bit more with mindfulness. I know it's a buzzword, everybody's talking about it, but it's honestly one of the most powerful tools to help regulate that fight or flight response we talked about last time. When we're feeling stuck or stressed, our nervous system can hijack our progress. But mindfulness and meditation create this bridge between our body and mind, allowing us to find that sense of calm and regulate our emotions. So, when we're practicing mindfulness regularly, we're not just calming our nervous system, we're also cultivating that self awareness. So, going back to that self awareness, and that self awareness, again, is crucial because it helps us identify, remember, the shining light on those limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns that start to creep in on us. Plus, the more we engage in mindfulness, the more resilient we become. And I love this. Life is always going to throw challenges our way, but when you're grounded, you're more capable of navigating those ups and downs with grace. Have you ever noticed that? When something really hard or really challenging comes knocking at your door and you're already feeling stressed, you're already feeling overwhelmed, you're already feeling anxious, all of those things that love to creep in on us when we are not grounded. And when that happens, we can literally spiral into the abyss. Anybody with me on that? Anybody ever spiraled into the abyss because you were already not grounded and then something hard happens and then bam, you start to spiral. We get depressed, we start to shut off the world, we stop doing the things that we know are good for us because it is harder to be resilient. Now, when I am more self aware, when I am more grounded, guess what happens? Those hard things are still hard, but the difference is I handle it way better. Do you? Do you navigate it more clearly? Do you process it better? I know I do. And then that leads me to another key of leveling up, and that is processing the emotional roots of resistance. Think about it. Okay. So I want you to think about this. How often do we hit a roadblock because some unresolved emotion or belief keeps us from moving forward? Maybe it's fear, or maybe it's something from the past that's weighing you down. The good news is we can work through that. Yep, we totally can, you guys. And here is how we do that. It's tools like journaling. This can be a game changer. Writing down your thoughts and emotions helps bring clarity and create space for emotional release. Whether it's through journaling, so for some people, that's like their go to. Therapy, that's another way, or even talking with your friends, people that you trust. Processing those feelings can lift a huge weight. And then from there, we get to start reframing those limiting beliefs and we get to start replacing them with empowering thoughts that align with who we want to become, who we want to be in that moment. Now, I have an example of this because I think it's so important that we talk about this in real time. So, I want to just share something very intimate that has happened. And I have a really dear friend that just found out her precious daughter, who is also a wife and a mom, has breast cancer. You guys, this was an absolute shock, and it is obviously heartbreaking. But we're believing for all things to be great. And I have to say that with this diagnosis, my friend was already going through a lot of really hard things. And this just felt like a massive gut punch. But I want to share what she did because this is where I'm like, girl, you are so amazing. Because what she did is she called a couple of us, and we had been talking about going to lunch for a while. You know how you do that. You talk to your friends and you're like, oh, yeah, let's go to lunch. And, you just keep talking about it, but you don't really take action on it. Well, guess what? She called us and she was like, all right, let's go. And we made it happen. We knew that it had to be a priority. And it was there that she was able to talk to us about her fears, about her frustrations, about her concerns, the things that were weighing on her with this situation with her daughter. And we got to talk through it. And guess what happened in that time is that she was able to start processing it more clearly. And by the time we left that lunch, she had a whole new perspective, a new lens, and different thought patterns to hold on to. Now, did it miraculously take away the pain and the fear? No. But what it did is it got her into a place of hope rather than resistance. She wasn't going to go back and crawl into a ball because she now could process her feelings and she was able to feel empowered and she was able to reframe her thoughts. By the time she left, and I'll never forget it, we were getting out of the car. She was getting back into her car and she was like, "We've got this." And I felt it. I know she believes it. And I'm going to also say this. Sometimes we have to do this over and over again because, yes, our brain is the default brain. It always wants to go back to the familiar. So we have to reframe it. We have to retrain it. So this is going to be something that she's going to have to do over and over and over again. Journaling, therapy, talking to people you trust, your friends, your loved ones. And then next, I want to talk about habits because we all know it's easier said than done to build new ones, right? The key is to break down those big, audacious goals into these bite sized, manageable steps. And then what happens is when we do this, the process seems less overwhelming and helps us see progress quicker. But here's the kicker: don't forget to reward yourself along the way. Positive reinforcement is so powerful. When you hit a milestone, no matter how small, celebrate it. These little rewards are going to start to retrain your brain to associate positive feelings with those new habits, making them more likely to stick. And then also, I want you to think about this: create an environment that supports your success. Surrounding yourself with people and places and routines that make it easier to stick to these changes. The more aligned you are with your environment, the less friction you're going to face and the less battles you're going to face. When we are not aligned with the right environment, the right people, the right places, what happens is there is sabotage. And that becomes a very real thing. So I want you to be thinking about that as you're thinking about who are you surrounding yourself with in the hard things. And here's an example of this. I was working with a client and she has been struggling with some family issues, money mindset, and also just really trying to come up with a solution of how to pivot into a new space for work. Even thinking about starting something completely brand new for herself, a new career, if you will. But she has been feeling so stuck and so overwhelmed that she felt like she was just spinning in circles every single day, unable to be productive. And each day she would look at the clock and go, oh my gosh, it's already 5 o'clock and it's already time for dinner. And she said to me, it was almost as if like time was just going by, yet she felt like she was accomplishing nothing. She would look back on her day and be like, oh my gosh, all I did today was ate some breakfast, I walked the dogs, I hopped on my computer, but she's like, there was just nothing to show for it. So the other day we met for a little over an hour and we talked through this. And what we did is we started to make a plan. We took her goals and put them into bite-sized chunks for next week. But we also laid them out with a system so she can start to not only get things done, but feel the needle start to move again. And most importantly, she's starting to retrain her mind to feel those successes. And you bet that in that plan that I sent her, there is a reward yourself part at the end of the week, because that is how she's going to get motivated to move on to week 2. She's going to be able to see the results, feel the results, and she's also going to know that she can accomplish them. And that is my favorite part. So, another thing that I love to look at is shifting our perspective. And that's where we're going to flip the narrative a little bit. What if instead of focusing on all of the hard parts of leveling up, we start to shift our perspective to focus on pleasure? Yes, I said it, pleasure. When you align your goals with what truly brings you joy and fulfillment, resistance starts to become less overwhelming, less daunting. You're no longer just grinding it out, because what happens is you start to be driven by your passions. You start to find ways to incorporate pleasure into your routines. So this could mean, making time for some of your favorite things to do, your activities, or finding some joy in the small wins along the journey, feeling accomplished. So I want you to really take a moment to self-evaluate and prioritize the things that light you up. When we shift from I have to do this to I get to do this, everything starts to change. So it's kind of like what we talk about in our gratitude practice. Like I said, in my brain, every morning when I first wake up, I'm thinking about what I'm thankful for. Before I go to bed, those are the last thoughts on my brain, are the things that I am grateful for. I got to do what today? So let's again look at some examples in this because I think it's fascinating. And let's look at eating, because I know this comes up for so many women. What if you are resisting that healthy snack or that healthy meal, but you know it's what's best for you? What if we looked at it as though it was an experience or that it was going to raise your energetic vibration. So let me explain. I love a little woo, but I also like the science. I learned this the other day, and this just blew my mind. So I love this whole idea of energetic vibrations, and we've kind of talked about that with the frequencies and different things like that. I think back on I think actually the first episode with my dear friend, Dr. Lachelle Weemy. She is so into this and literally is just such an expert in this field. And one of the things that I just recently learned is that fruit has actually one of the highest vibrations out of any food. So, what this will do is it's going to give you a higher vibration as well when you consume that. I just think that's so cool. But I thought I would just kind of mention that. I mean, it is something that I'd love to talk more about is these frequencies, because there's even something with clothing that they talk about what gives you the highest energetic vibration from wearing a certain type of clothing. And oh my gosh, it was fascinating because I was like, "Oh, that is so real." But anyways, I just got off on a little tangent there. I want to also share with you, thinking about making food an experience. I want you to think about when you go to a fancy restaurant. And we went to a wedding not long ago, and we had I think it was considered the like first course, maybe second course, I don't know. It was in place of like the salad, right? Well, there were these four beautiful parts of this plate. And let me tell you, we did not just scarf these down. We were hungry. It was late. You know how that is at a wedding, right? You eat later, but it was late. However, I have to tell you that we took this plate so seriously and we loved every bite that we took. It was an experience. Okay. So now I know when we come home, it's not going to be the same. It's not like we're going to plate our food. I mean, hey, you can. Please know that it is fun. I do love it when, I'm not going to lie, I love it when we get HelloFresh and I make a dinner and it looks like it just came out of a magazine, and I put the sauce on and I have all the little parts to it. I mean, it is picture worthy, and there is something about that that changes your brain a little bit. It becomes an experience. But I remember when I was younger, maybe in my 20s or 30s, and I was watching a video with my grandma, and I remember them talking about how you can eat your meal on a beautiful piece of china. You can have your water in a beautiful, like crystal wine glass. Whatever the case is, the point is that when we make it an experience, your brain finds more satisfaction in it. They have proven that you slow down your eating, you consume it differently, you actually enjoy the experience. Hence, you get full quicker and you feel more satisfied. Is that making sense? So instead of feeling like, ugh, this resistance and this rebellion of like, oh my gosh, I get to have this piece of fruit, or more like I have to have this piece of fruit rather than that beautiful brownie smothered in ice cream. Make it an experience. Present it beautifully, put it on a cute plate. Do something that makes your experience different. It changes our lens a little bit. Here's another favorite. How many of you love your quiet time at night because the kids are sleeping and there's peace in the house? You can do what you want, yet you still have to get up early. So you begin to miss out on your sleep. You start to indulge in Netflix, and then before you know it, it's midnight and you still have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. But you're like, wait, I love my quiet time. Well, what if you choose to make this a more delightful ritual? What if you decided to make this a sacred, special time for yourself? So instead of being on technology, you were able to incorporate powerful rituals that relaxed you and helped you sleep better. So maybe that looks like dimming the lights or creating a space where you can still journal and do some gratitude at night or read a book and sink into a cozy chair. Maybe it's doing a great skincare routine. Recently, we just got ourselves one of those silk pillowcases, not because I thought it was all luxurious, but more because we were like, oh, it's better for your skin, it's better for your hair. But guess what? It feels so good when I lay my head on that pillow. It feels like I'm spoiling myself. So you get to start feeling satisfied with having me time, but and you get to spoil yourself, but you're going to get to sleep sooner without indulging in the Netflix until midnight. You can still have that quiet time. It just looks differently. These are the things that we need to start creating for ourselves. And believe me, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you with the sleep thing. I'm all over the place in that. So I've had to be very, what's the word? Probably just more disciplined in when I feel tired rather than staying up, creating a different habit to turn out the lights and go to sleep. I do need to get better at maybe creating a little routine for me that feels maybe more satisfying at the end of the night. But it's all a work in progress, and that's a great part of our journeys in life. But when we do these things for ourselves, we start to operate from the cup of overflow. And remember from previous podcasts how important this is because it becomes a ripple effect. When we feel good, then we can show up better for others. And this is where I want to circle back to hope. Help one person every day. There's something magical about helping others. Not only does it boost your own sense of well being, but it also reduces stress and creates that ripple effect of positivity in your life, whether it's offering your support to a friend, giving back to community, or simply just sharing a kind word. Making a difference in someone's life can bring profound joy. And as you help others, you often discover more about your own purpose. So there's nothing like helping someone else to give you a fresh perspective on your own journey. I know we've covered a lot today, from mindfulness to rewiring your brain to the power of small wins, being in alignment, but we can talk about it all day long or we can take action. And I want to encourage you to experiment with these strategies. See what resonates with you and keep moving forward. I'm going to be right there with you because I talked about earlier how I need to be more accountable of making sure that I am putting exercise in my calendar. It's a date with myself, right? I'm going to reframe those thoughts by bringing back what two words that what did we talk about at the beginning? Can you remember? Cancel, cancel. Neutralizing those thoughts that start to come in my brain, start to come in your brain. Let's do that together. And I can't wait to hear what success you find from that. If you would like more guidance, don't forget that I'm hosting a free workshop where I am going to be teaching my signature framework, the Golden Hour Method. And this is all about creating a sacred, intentional part of your day to reconnect with yourself, reset your mind, and take those steps to level up your life. The details are going to be in the show notes. Registration link is going to be in the show notes. And you can also visit my website or follow me on Instagram for more information. I'm going to be talking a lot about it. And remember, resistance doesn't have to stop you. You've got the tools, the mindset, and now the strategies to overcome it. You are capable of so much more than you realize, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish next. And don't forget to tune into the next episode. And if you love this episode or the content that I'm making for you and it adds value to your life, it would mean so much to me if you could click the follow button on your favorite platform. This boosts the podcast to a wider audience. Plus, you will also be notified when other episodes drop each week. Rating and reviewing the show is also a huge piece. I know I talk about it all the time, and that would be amazing too if you feel led to do that. So thank you guys so much. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and know the best is yet to come. Bye, friends. Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.